In order to know my story, we have to start from the beginning. As a little girl, my mom was a single mother doing her best to get by. She worked at a preschool in my hometown and helped out on a farm on the side. When I was 7 years old, my mother began to date this man named Yoharsi. Having been only 7 and not having a male figure in my life, I was skeptical. Not to mention, there was a language barrier that made it nearly impossible to communicate with one another. Yoharsi is from Honduras, born and raised, and only had recently came to America when he had met my mother. With time, Yoharsi and I found ways to communicate. He would use the little bit of English that he knew, while I would use the little bit of Spanish that I knew, and then we would work together to fill in the blanks, using hand gestures and whatever else. It was not the most efficient way of speaking, but it got the job done. Before long, Yoharsi was able to fluently speak English. We continued to create a bond and in a sense became inseparable. On my 15th birthday, I asked my dad, "I know you're not my father by blood, but can we make it by law?" Growing up in a Hispanic household, I watched firsthand how two cultures can coexist. However, even this did not prepare me for what I was going to see when visiting Honduras for the first time. According to AFS USA, this Central American country, a 3,000-year-old Mayan culture, has beautiful beaches and delicious cuisines. However, my dad did not live in the nicest of areas. His home was about an hour away from the capital, Tegucigalpa. His home had no electricity nor running water. In order to take a shower, you stand in the middle of a drain with a bucket of water and simply dump it on yourself. This trip was a very eye-opening experience for me. I learned to appreciate every little thing and to not take anything for granted. With that being said, the culture runs deep within Honduras. I interviewed my dad to get him to answer a few questions. When asked about holidays, my father responded with, "In Honduras, we find any and every reason to celebrate. We love to eat, dance, and spend time with our family." One very important celebration in the Honduran culture is a quinceañera. This is essentially a 15th birthday party for a female. However, this birthday means so much more in their culture. According to Phillips with DePaul University, traditionally, the celebration proclaimed a young woman's maturity and her readiness for marriage. This is meant to represent a girl's transition from her childhood into her womanhood.
Almost every culture, the transition of a girl into womanhood is a very important event. In the Hispanic culture, that is marked with the quinceañera. It's believed the quinceañera tradition started when the Spanish colonized Mexico, but others say its origins began with the Aztecs. Today, the quinceañera is celebrated all throughout the United States, Mexico, Central, and South America. The coordination of the event is a team effort with family and friends sponsoring different parts of the celebration. The quinceañera starts with a mass, then followed by a dinner and dance. At the reception, the young girl is dressed in a beautiful ball gown with a tiara and is presented with her last doll, a cross, and Bible. All the things she will need as she moves from girlhood into womanhood.
I mentioned before that I asked my stepdad to adopt me on my 15th birthday, but what I failed to mention that it was on my quinceañera. The same year that I was going to turn 15, my mother had a miscarriage. My father was particularly hurt by this because he wanted so badly to have a daughter in order to have a quinceañera. After much thought, I agreed to have one of my own. Seeing how much it meant to my father and getting to ask him to adopt me right before the father-daughter dance was the best decision that I could have made. Another important aspect of the Honduran culture is family. When asked about family, my dad said family is everything. In Honduras, you would do anything for your family. My dad left his family and moved to the United States all alone so that he could earn money in order to provide for them back home. To this day, my father continues to provide for those and visit his mother back home. According to an article from the School of Communication at Illinois State University, Honduras believe the family is the fundamental social unit. That is, family is what creates a Honduran social identity. Hondurans typically have large families. They enjoy constantly being around their loved ones. This love has translated into the love that my dad has for his family here. My father enjoys buying his kids new things because he never got to experience this as a child. He does his best to give us the life that he always dreamed of having. Living a life where two cultures coexist is not always the easiest, but there is beauty in the struggle, and I am forever appreciative of getting the opportunity to experience both cultures in my childhood.